cool intro video.
Like what kind? What do you like? Just something?
Yeah, that we can play while it's waiting, while we're sharing it out and waiting. Like I see
Good idea.
some of these other like paranormal podcasts that show um
Yeah, just an intro.
yeah. I'm gonna
We
share it
probably
too.
need like like a 30-second intro.
Yeah, just a real quick one that I mean, but even 30 seconds is too short. I'm sharing it. Share it out. I shared it to you.
Yeah, I got it.
Eddie Penn, Becky Moore, John Moore, sending it to everybody. Make sure my volume's out. Hi, Mort.
Hello, Mort.
We like Mort. Mort watches all the time.
Yes.
We're just gonna wait for a few more people to pop in because, you know, I always start too early and then have to repeat sometimes. And fun. We were just talking more about getting an intro. Hi, John. Hey, John. We got something for you. Look behind Beth. Can you see it? Can you see it? Bam,
I'm just
bam.
playing it.
Look at that. See?
Yes, I just told her I have to order the other one. It's in my cart. I thought I ordered it, but I noticed the other day I hadn't. And I apologize because I want it.
We are part of the John Ward Scareville Army.
That's right.
So if you haven't gotten your copies, that's the second book. This is the first one.
That is the first book. Yes.
I'm looking at the computer screen and it's opposite. So like, so
not a problem.
This
John.
is the first one. Welcome
Yes.
to Scareville, and then Scareville: How to Create a Monster. Which I'm sorry, John, I've been so busy, haven't read it yet. Hopefully this weekend. Eddie Pence, how are you doing? So we're gonna promote your books a little bit today. We'll keep putting them in there, do what we can. But they are good, actually, really good reads, easy reads for the kids.
Yes.
Your young teen, your betweeners, in betweeners.
I remember when my kids were younger and Goosebumps was the big deal. And they used to come home and watch the show after school and do all of that. And fast forward, I mean, I felt like when I was reading the book, I felt like I was back in that place. They're just awesome books. And
John, we're putting it out there. Yours is going to turn into like movies.
That's right.
We're
all because of our show.
We're putting it in the universe. Your books are going to be something. They're going to be out there.
Yes.
They're going to be movies. Oh yes, he's on Goose's podcast tonight. Oh well, we still have power. I texted Beth earlier today. I'm like, hopefully we still have power when I get home.
Yeah, it was coming down pretty good when I was leaving work.
Mort, you can get them on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and John, you can put it the other places you can find them. But I know Barnes and Nobles and Amazon have them. Your best bet is Barnes and Nobles. Amazon is a little slow sometimes. Well, we can make you a fancy jingle. I can't sing though, but I could definitely do a jingle.
While we were talking about doing a video for an intro, maybe we can come up with something like that too.
Hi, Linda. Yes, you can look. Yep. They're pretty cool. I mean, I'm 46 years old, almost 47, and I really enjoy them. So, I mean, they're pretty cool. So, he said anywhere, pretty much you can sell them. All right, so we're gonna get started. So tonight we are talking about Amelia Dyer. If you've never heard of her, I mean, I didn't until who's Amelia Dyer? Let's see. She said, who's Amelia Dyer?
That's right.
Amelia Dyer is...
She was a Victorian nurse.
Yes.
From the 1800s.
But she wasn't fully trained, let's say, as a nurse. She was learning. So that is Amelia Dyer. You run of the mill kind of lady, middle-aged lady, hey, looks like the rest of us, tired, overworked,
right,
underpaid. I mean, I feel like I look like her sometimes. especially at a long week, just got back from vacation 2 weeks. But anyways, she is like the number one female serial killer in the UK. So, yes. Hi, Ace. He was trying to ask me who Amelia Dyer was before the show, and I said, you got to watch the show.
So she got away with what she did for a really, really, really long time. And even when they did try to prosecute her, I guess you would say, she barely served any at all. And if anybody should be, I'm sorry, executed for something, it should be her. This is what she did was absolutely disgusting.
It was. And she was born Amelia Elizabeth Dyer. Sadly, we share the same middle name. And she was born in 1836 and then died in 1996. Wow, she's really old. She died in 1896. So she was only 60 years old when she died? Right? Mm-hmm. Is my math right? Yes. Okay.
Math's hard.
Especially a long day of work.
I know.
Like I said, I feel like I look like her right now, overworked, underpaid. But they dubbed her as the ogress of reading. And the reason why she's the number one serial killer in the UK is because she murdered infants.
Yes. She didn't just murder, I mean, she murdered hundreds of infants. Hundreds. Like
they're estimating up to 400
up
babies.
To 400 babies. 400. Of all ages. I mean, all the way up to all ages. Or whatever you would consider a baby. That's what she was doing. And back then, they had things like baby farming.
Yep. So the easiest way to explain baby farming, and it sounds so wrong, like absolutely like, okay, we got farming, we plant crops, we have farm animals. Baby farming was a practice back in, the Victorian Britain, age era, and it's less common now. Like they don't obviously do this, but there is something nowadays that does happen very similar to what baby farming is. So basically, baby farming was the exchange of infants for profit. So what do you all think would relate to that today? Well, I mean...
But it was for different kinds of profits. I mean, they would have unwed mothers, and they would sell their babies off so they wouldn't have to basically take care of them. And they had midwives back then.
Mm-hmm.
And some would just want, and she would claim to... Do you have any of these adoption articles?
No.
I could probably pull it up. But She would put stuff in the paper like adopt.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Yep, I do.
So falsifying that she can, yes. Falsifying information. And back then, what's that symbol for that money? Is that a euro?
That's a euro.
So in today's standards, it would be anywhere from like $1,000 to $8,000 per baby. It would just depend on the circumstance and the agreement that they made, and probably how wealthy the family was. I am assuming, but yeah. So she would put these fake ads in there and get babies, and people think that she's helping them adopt out the baby and it's going to live a fulfilling life. And most of the time they know for sure that most babies didn't live past 2 days, but most probably within a few hours were already deceased.
Yeah, she so basically how she came about this was, like we said, she was a nurse. A little background story of her is her dad was a shoemaker, so he taught her how to read, and he was very good at reading and writing. So he kind of and he had a love for poetry and stuff. So he kind of taught her how to read and write. But her mom was mentally ill, so she was abusive to her siblings. Um, but there was a point in time where the dad ended up dying, and she ended up having to take care of her mom and stuff. Well, then her mom ended up dying, but she had all that abuse, prior to the mom dying. So she she moved out after her mom died. She fell in love with this man. I think his last name was Dyer. And then she went into nursing. Like she was this guy was teaching her how to be or George Thomas. She met a guy named George Thomas. He started training her to be a nurse. She never finished nursing school, so she was just somewhat knowledgeable in the skills. But then she met a midwife, and the midwife kind of told her about baby farming. It was a way to make profit. It was a way because back then food was a little scarce, money was scarce. So you either a prostitute, there was a little. I can never say this word. Oh my god. I'm not even gonna try. I have it right in front of me, and I couldn't even say it to you right now.
Okay.
A legitimate children.
Illegitimate.
Okay. There you go. Thank you.
No problem.
that does not roll off the tongue very well for me. But people who are in those situations, it's like, okay, what do I do for, I have this pregnancy, I have this baby that I got to take care of, and I don't even know how to take care of them myself. We're going to starve to death. So this midwife kind of told about baby farming, and what it is you take these children for a profit. They would tell these parents, I'm going to raise your child. They're going to be in a good home. And so that obviously didn't happen. So basically baby farming is adoption today. Your orphanages, because
is what she was basically running, or what she was supposed to be running. Hi, Jeremy. But she wasn't. She was getting the babies, getting the money, killing the babies. And in the beginning of it, she was doing it legitly, like in and a roundabout way, where she was getting death certificates from the coroner and stuff like that. And that's what ultimately led to them to start to investigate her the first time, was because of all these babies that were dying around her.
Well, she would, like when someone dies, you call like the morgue, you call the police, they come out to an autopsy. So that's basically what she was doing, is she was calling the police, and they would come out, rule it out the death. Well, then this one officer was like, something's not right. So as soon as she got wind of that, she would up and move her family, and change her name. So she would move somewhere else, change her name, and then start all over. It's actually so. I think she had 4 or 5 different aliases at one time, but yeah, it's kind of gross. And so yeah, it was. She would get anywhere between €10 up to €100, which she said earlier was quite a significant amount of money nowadays. I did try to look that up to see what the difference was between U.S. dollars and there, and it's not. I mean, it's maybe $100 difference, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it was nuts. Go ahead.
So yeah. So when she would get the babies and stuff, she would, I mean, what she even said that it was kind of a signature. That's how she knew if it was her or not that had killed that baby, because she had used some type of a white tape to put around their necks, most of them, and a knot under their left ear. And then after a while, she quit using the tape because she didn't want them to think that there was a pattern. But backing up, once she got, because after she was doing it properly and getting the death certificates for all these infants, finally a doctor was like, what's going on? Like, it's just not common for people to have this many babies die, and so they started to investigate her, and they really did just kind of slap her on the wrist for it. What'd she get, like 5-6 months hard labor?
Yeah, and at first she was actually she was just neglecting them and starving them until they died. So, and that yeah, like you said, she ended up.
She started out by giving them some kind of medicine. I read somewhere that she was giving them some kind of a medication that would basically just kill them eventually.
I wonder what
It's
that
just
was.
so sad.
But she did 6 months hard labor. It wasn't actually. I mean, she wasn't put in jail, but it was more. It was like if nowadays what you'd have like the number 2 jails where it's low key, they can do a lot more. Um, yeah, so she just had to do hard labor. So I don't know if maybe that's like what do we call it nowadays when you get a slap on the wrist? You have to do charity work or whatever.
Yeah, charity work or
I
house
forget.
arrest or
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's basically like that. But then there's a few other times in the other cities. She went to Bristol, UK, where she met her husband, William Dyer. And after she had 2 children with him, she left him. But she ended up in mental hospitals. So she ended up in asylums because that was one of her ways of trying to deflect her killings. Like she would just say she was crazy if they got too close, and then it would throw the police off a little bit just because she said she was she was losing her mind. She was mental like her mom, and you know.
Yeah. So once they started investigating her and she did her time, of course, she didn't learn a lesson. She got out or stopped having to do the hard labor. And like you mentioned, changed her name, moved to another city. dragged all and just started doing the same thing over again. But this time she didn't do it through the coroner, and she started throwing babies off a bridge and into water, and that's how they found the babies in the water. Was
when one floated to the top, because she did.
Yep. Helena Fry's body was fished from the water. And that was dated. Well, when they found her body, she was in packaging that had a railway stamp on it that had the city of where Amelia was now, and it had the date of that particular stamp, which was October 24th of 1895, which I believe is part of that picture you showed earlier, because they found it in a newspaper with it too that had the.
Oh, hold on, I'll get back to it.
But yeah, so that's how. So then she started disposing of the babies in the river, lake, whatever it was.
The river.
And then even after that, well, I think it was then, wasn't? No, because I think she got another slap on the wrist, didn't she?
She did. She got several slaps on the wrist, and then, like I said, she ended up in several different asylums. And forgive me, I don't remember the name of the one asylum, but it is actually, and I'll have to find it and I can post it later, but it is actually still standing today and it's still operational. It's a hospital now. So that would be really cool if we went to the UK and did a paranormal investigation at the hospital that she was residing in for a little while.
Yeah.
Not that it would. I mean, who knows if we would catch, find anything with her, in it, but still it would be cool just to go there and say, hey, this serial killer lived here.
So 6 more babies were found in the water after they found Helena with that tape around their neck.
Yeah. So that's how they connected her to some of the other babies they found around the other cities that she lived in. Because, like I said, she moved from town to town once people started catching on. And after, and the reason why she was killing so many babies is because she had to make room so that she could gain more money. So she figured that out early on in her murderous career. I don't know what to call it.
Well, witnesses to her, or neighbors, I guess you'd say, would say that they would see anywhere up to 8 babies at one time in her house.
Mm-hmm.
So that's scary. I mean, think about that. If you're getting anywhere from $1,000 to $8,000 at today's standards, basically, per child, and she killed how many? Oh my gosh.
Over 400, they're saying.
So this is an average of 4,000 per child.
Right. And this was multiple
$1.6 million.
That's a lot at that time.
Well, no, that would be today's standards.
Oh, today.
But yeah, that would be today's money.
Probably 100,000 then. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she would put out those letters and stuff, and back, it's hard. I mean, and then she finally did go to trial, for the one baby that they did find all wrapped, and at that time, her daughter, and her son-in-law were living with her. Arthur Palmer was charged as an accessory, and so was her daughter, and I forget which one was her daughter. She had 2 daughters. I just had it. Where's her daughter's name?
Oh.
Sorry, guys. I moved my paper. Mary Ann. So Mary Ann and her husband were living with her every time she traveled. Moved. They moved with her. Was helping her out with the kids. But unbeknownst to them, they didn't realize what she was actually doing. They were charged as accessories, but then after this showed up to the chief, superintendent of, it's hard to read now, but basically in this letter, she's stating that she's the only one that did the crimes, that she's got to be judged by her maker, her father in heaven. So her daughter and her husband had nothing to do with it. And after she sent that letter, her daughter and her husband was released and not put on trial. So
yeah,
that's kind of scary that you could be living with somebody. And I know it happens all the time. I mean, I remember, and I think I've mentioned this before, we were at the Michigan Paracon, 2 years ago, and there was a lady talking about serial killers, and her dad was one. She never knew it until later on as she became more of a teenager adult, that her dad was arrested and she found out he was a serial killer. Like, that's kind of astonishing to me that you could be living with people and not even know, like they're Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, That's crazy. But yeah, so they didn't know she was actually killing babies. They just thought, hey, they moved on and died and mom got more, But nope, she was killing them. So she confessed.
So Linda, I don't know is Linda still on? Rondi Alston, serial killer. Yeah. I have not heard of that one either.
No. I don't know. I had to look that one up.
Yeah, same. But yeah, it's just, I mean, to think of it as like babe, I mean, it takes the whole baby farming into a whole different perspective than what it really was. I mean, now when you think about baby farming, it's almost like a dirty thing to think about because of what she did. I mean, now it's adopting now.
It is adopting, but look how and what's sad about this is because baby farming, all it did was change its name. It's adoption now. They get tons of money for babies that are can't be cared for. You might be a single mom and you have to give up your children, or something tragic happened and the baby doesn't have parents, so they go into the foster care system, and you get paid to be a foster parent, not much. You don't get much, and then you look at all these there's so many stories out there that foster parents who do it just for that little bit of money, and they abuse the children and they hurt the children, and it still happens today, in the foster care system, and then to adopt a child, it's like over $100,000 just to adopt a child. It's like, why? Why is it?
Well, and that's
so
why
to give these kids nice, loving homes.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's in our own country too. That's why a lot of these families end up getting babies overseas,
right?
Because it's easier and it's cheaper for them to do it that way. Other than the travel to get the baby,
right?
That's probably the most expensive part of the whole thing. But I hear a lot of families that, I mean, you're in your own country, and what you have to do to try to adopt a baby is unbelievable. They make it seem like it's easy. They televise it and tell you it's easy, but it isn't. Mm-mm. At all. You have to be like clean slate all the way through and through. You cannot have a mistake in your life, like a pure angel.
So out of the 400 murders, she literally only pleaded guilty to one.
Yeah, to the one that they found that they had a connection to her on.
Yep.
Which surprises me because the other ones had the same MO or the same, that she did the same thing, but they couldn't really get, tie her technically to them, I guess. That was the only one that had like dates and information to find her.
I guess it didn't save to my computer. I thought I saved a picture of the 3 police officers, the detectives that kind of solved her case. They look like it's funny. They look like what is his name? Sherlock Holmes. They had the eyeglass, the hat, so picture Sherlock Holmes, and that's what her detectives look like. Funny, but yeah. So her ex, so she ended up getting executed, and the way she was executed was a hanging. So this trial did not last long at all. It said it pretty much lasted about 5 minutes. She was convicted in 5 minutes. She admitted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one of the articles I found, it said it didn't last all but 5 minutes. It was a very short trial. Okay, that's probably exaggerating a little bit, but it was a very short trial. That she admitted to the murder, and then there you go. There you go. See, they look like Sherlock Holmes.
They do. They do.
And right in front, and right in front of them was like that other image I showed of the evidence. So that was the evidence that hid in front of her, or in front of them, I should say. But yeah, so it was a very quick trial. She pleaded guilty to the one, and they decided that she was going to be hung.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
So he died. Now the strange. And then this is the gross part of this. So our topics are nursery rhymes, serial killers, fairy tales. So because of all her killings and all this, that inspired a ballad to be written, known as the Ogress of Reading, because that's where she ended up, was Reading, the UK. And this is how it went. It said, the old baby farmer, the wretched Miss Dyer, at the Old Bailey, her wages is paid. In times long ago, we made a big fire and roasted so nicely the wicked old jade. Yep, that's kind of morbid too.
Yeah.
I mean, you made a song about a little nursery rhyme about killing her. I don't know.
That's crazy.
So, and they would sing this around town. That's kind of gross. But then you think about all the nursery rhymes that we've talked about. Hi, Mama Bear. You think of all the nursery rhymes and the backstories of those, and it's like, it would be something to live in that time. Like,
they must have called her Annie. I guess I didn't read that. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. Hey, Daniel James.
Because this says they found them in the garden. In a garden of a house at Fish Ponds. Mrs. Annie Dyer, a notorious baby farmer who was executed. Okay, so
Well, she
6
remember
years
she kept
ago.
changing her name around too.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Mrs.
So
Dyer
she had
lived.
aliases.
She lived there for about 12 months, and during that time, she took in children to nurse, but her movements did not then attract much notice. So they must have found these babies after she was dead.
Right. Yeah, they end up finding them all over. Linda, the estimate that they are saying, and this is every article we found, is saying that she killed over 400 children, infants and children, all for the gain of money. She, and the only reason she was doing it is she would kill them, make more room in her home, put in another personal ad, get more babies, and then kill them too, So she
She
just
was
kept doing.
killing kids up to 6 years of age.
So they actually,
That's crazy.
after her death, they did make an amendment to their laws, and they did put in a law that any child that was to be adopted um, had to be seen and whatever by a police department or something like that. So basically, that's adoption. They had laws now put in place so that welfare checks could be done, all that stuff. So, but here's the funny thing that I found in one of a couple articles, and it's a previous topic that we actually did a couple months ago, was Jack the Ripper. So there was actually speculation at one point that she could have been Jack the Ripper because of her nursing skills, and the Jack the Ripper would tear out the uterus and all that stuff. So because she had those nursing skills and she was trying to, do abortions and stuff, I think there was one article that said she tried to do that with some pregnant moms. But so there was speculation that she could have been Jack the Ripper. Obviously, we know that's not true because they found out who the real Jack the Ripper is. But I just thought that was kind of interesting that at one point they thought it was her.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, Linda, there was not a real process, you know, for adoption. It was basically you put a letter in the newspaper. I'll take your kid for a fee, give them a good home, and you can be on your merry way. There was rich families who didn't, got their maids or their service, people pregnant. A lot of people were hoes around back then, whoring around. I'm telling you, would get somebody pregnant, and then they would send that, wouldn't want that baby, or if there was something wrong with the baby, give it away because they didn't want to embarrass the family. You had women who were single moms because the husbands just, died or went off to war or whatever, and instead of starving, they would give their kids away, so yeah, it's quite a sad time. I always liked the Victorian era. I feel like I have a connection to it. Um, but when I read these articles, it's like, why? Why do I like that era? I like the clothes, I like the homes, but what the people did, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah. So
She was their new family. They didn't go past, she basically got money from the birth family that didn't want the child anymore, and she was their new family, and then she would kill them. So
yeah, she
wasn't like trading, like she wasn't the adoption agency where she took them, got the money, and then placed them into a home. She didn't do that.
Right. They thought that their children were going to have fulfilling lives and have a better life than what they could give them.
No.
And that's why they did what they did, was for that purpose. And that's not what happened. She was
Yeah, no, she
killing
was
them
not
pretty
the.
much immediately.
Yeah, she was not the go-between. Not at all. She was just doing it to gain money, to gain the profits herself, and she just needed to keep making room so she could keep bringing those profits. Because we know children are not cheap. They're not cheap to raise. Let me tell you. Um, but yeah, I mean, and that was my own assumption of the adoption of today. Because when I was reading these articles, and learning about this, that's the images I kept popping up was she was like an adoption agency, but
Yeah.
didn't adopt them out. She was the orphanage.
Uh-huh. She was the middleman, basically. Families that I know, families that want to adopt your baby.
Yeah.
I can find a baby, somebody to adopt your baby. I know people. I can do this for you. Pay me, and it's cheaper for you than what you'll have to go through, and blah blah blah. And that's not what was happening.
So Linda, how I found her was we've been doing a mostly men as when we do serial killers, when we talk about serial killers, I was like, we need to do a female this time. So I just Google searched female serial killers, and there was a list of like 30 of them, and she was the number one slot, and she was the number one serial killer because she killed so many. And it was kind of fascinating a little bit, to say the least. So that's how I found her. I just did a Google search on female serial killers because they're out there. Men aren't the only ones that kill people. Women do it too. They're crazy. Yeah, and she did it over a span of 30 years, which is a long time to not get caught.
Well, she did get caught.
Yeah, but then she did.
But
You're right. She did.
and she had to do some time, but barely anything. I mean,
And then
and then
she
she
faked
created
being
new
mentally
life.
ill. Then she
Yeah.
faked being mentally. But there is a part where she was she did they discovered that she was an alcoholic, and she was doing opiates. So she was doing opium. So, and in the opium, that stuff that makes you like almost hallucinate.
I
I
have
don't know. I
no
don't.
idea what it does.
Every time I hear the word opium, I think of Alice in Wonderland. Oh,
Excuse
God
me.
bless you.
Sorry.
I think of Alice in Wonderland when I think of opium. Because I thought that's what I read one time. Is Alice in Wonderland was
Yeah, it
created when
is. It's a
created when the,
psychedelic. It's
yeah
a
created
psychedelic
when
thing.
created when the guy was on opium. And I was like, way to create something when you're high is F. Yeah, her behavior was bad. Then that's how she became really pretty much got caught. Is they were starting
Yeah.
to catch on because the one police detective that was first kept getting called to the house every time a child died. He was getting a little suspicious because it's way too many children dying in her care. So he was getting suspicious, and that's when she moved. And so then it happened again and again and again. And then those detectives kind of got with these detectives, and
Well,
but they couldn't.
I'm kind of wondering about that a little bit, though. I mean, you can't tell me they have a ton of coroners around, you know what I mean? So it's probably, so I'm wondering if maybe the coroner wasn't a part of this a little bit. Maybe they were getting some, I mean,
But
it's just a
the
theory.
articles did say she stopped informing them.
Yeah,
Once it
after
caught
she
on.
served that hard labor, she did, but she'd gotten away with it at that point for
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah. So they just she just kind of changed her behavior and stopped telling people that they died, and that's when she would bury them, throw them in the rivers. No, no, we have
Wow.
not. You'll have to tell me that story.
Yeah, for sure. That's scary.
Huh? That's kind of weird too. You'll have to tell me that, because that'd be interesting to know what your dreams was, and like whatever happened with that.
Yeah.
At least he was found.
Yes. For
Sometimes,
sure.
you mentioned dreams and stuff. Isn't it weird how we dream certain things and you're like, huh, what was that about? Like, it's crazy. That's cool. I did that one time. I was at Hinsdale. This is a weird situation too. What the first time we were at Hinsdale, which the first time I was there, the second time I was there with all the guys, it was fine. I was cool, calm, collected. They played jokes on me. But the first time I was there with my team, I was not a nice person. I was very mean to everybody, But I had because we did Wildwood first and then Hinsdale, and at Wildwood, I asked my teammate Nicole. I said, Nikki, who's this person? And I said the first and last name, and she's like, I don't know. I'm like, because she did she's our historian. She's the one that wrote research places we go and stuff. And so she did her little research before we went there. And I told her, don't tell me anything because I don't want to know anything. All my team knows I do that. And so I gave her a name and I said, who is this? Was this person? Because she said it was a German name. And I came up with this name. Like, I said, who's this person? That the name came in my head. And she's like, nope, that wasn't in any of the articles. Well, then she did some research. And then one of the ladies, and I'm not going to say her name, but one of the caretakers was telling us a story, and the name is actually connected to her. And I was like, oh, but we found, she did some more research and found where this person was at and stuff. And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It was kind of freaky at the same time because I was like, I was in two different places. I was in Wildwood first, and that's where the name popped up. And then we went to Hinsdale and got the lecture and the tour, and a little personal information was shared too, and it was connected to the person. I was like, whoa, that's freaky. Yeah, I don't know why we get dreams. We I think anybody that's somewhat gifted or in this paranormal field, we're all going to have crazy, wacky dreams from time to time. That's why they always say have a notebook and write down your dreams, because then, which I never do. Never do, ever. I should, because I probably could make a movie or write a book about my dreams. Oh my gosh, who's the famous horror movie?
Stephen King.
Yeah, that guy.
him, him.
That guy too. Stephen King, actually, a lot of his movies are based off of dreams that he had.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty wicked dream, man.
I actually bought I actually bought a whole bunch of journals, like journal type things to start journaling, and I haven't journaled anything yet. And I have like 4 or 5 of them. They're really cool. Like they have really cool covers, and
I have notebooks all over my house. Do I ever write in them? No, not at all.
Comes in addiction.
I put a little bit of information in one, and then there it goes. It sits in the same spot forever. Yep. On the same
way. Journaling is always a good therapy too, whether it's, your dreams or just trying to get things out, or don't feel like you have someone you can talk to, then journal, because it really does help.
A lot of people say that it don't work for me.
I'm just saying, for all of the people that may be struggling, give it a try, because it can't hurt to try.
I will tell everybody my business, and that's how I get it out of my system.
Yeah. Well, they also make burn books too. So if you don't want someone to find it, read it, but yet you need to get it out, then you can still write it down and then you just burn the book.
It's funny. Like, I don't even know if that would work for me. It's not so much I don't want people to know my business, because honestly, I'm an open book. I'm becoming better at that since I've been with my favorite human being, because he's a very private person and I am not. So we balance each other out. but I, hi, Justin. It's about time you watch my show. I like Justin. Have you ever watched his show, The Necromancer?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I think so. Maybe.
Oh, they're so good. Very knowledgeable man. Very knowledgeable. Actually, I might be on his show one of these days, so that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. He definitely makes you think. The topics he talks about makes you go, huh, and then want to research more. Like, he talks about quantum physics sometimes, and I'm like, okay, I would like to learn that. And then I try to look up stuff and go, I'm not smart enough for this. I am not.
I feel that way every time I feel that way every time I watch Jeopardy. What are you talking about?
Like, I thought I was a smart woman, but nope, I'm not smart enough for this. So it's like, yeah, I try to learn what I can. I mean, I got a big head, but I don't feel like my brain is that big sometimes. It's clogged. I got a little box back there that's not open, storing all my information. It's called ADHD.
It's called getting old too.
I can see it says there's a big link, and it says, here's the Google on the serial killer that was alluded to my dreams. I never saw any of the activities, thank God. I would have to click on the link. So once we're done with the show.
I see his name.
Oh, I do not see his name. What is it?
It looks like it says Stephen Brian Pennell.
Oh, yep, I see it right in the middle. I do see it. Yeah.
Crazy.
I had to look that up.
Yep.
I'll click on the link when we're done with the show, because if I try to click on it now, it'll probably take me off, and then you'll all be like, where'd you go? And I'll be like, bye-bye.
Be in Cyberland.
I'm off in the abyss. Anywho. So, but yeah, our next show, and
that sounds like Ted Bundy. He was allowed to be his own lawyer too.
You know what? A lot of them can be their own lawyer nowadays.
This would have, for Ted Bundy, it was in the 70s.
Yeah, but okay, so little. I'm going to be a little open right now. No, never mind. I can't do it. My kids are home. Somebody in my past ended up being their own lawyer after firing and letting go their lawyers that were free lawyers. Anywho.
How'd that work for them?
It didn't.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It didn't work very well for Ted Bundy either.
Well, we never went. Let's just say we never made it to court. So,
yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to click on it yet. But so our next show is going to be August 3rd, the Thursday, of course, because we're out every other Thursday. And we did not pick a topic yet.
Not. You guys have an idea? What would you like to do, Linda?
Who would you like us to talk about? We could do nursery rhymes, fairy tales, or serial killers. Whoever. We might choose another female.
Or something just weird off the wall.
Or we can do weird off the wall because, we could take a break from serial killers too. But
yeah.
If you want to learn a little history, we'll try to bring it up, But yeah. So let us know what you guys want to, who you want us to talk about. But we've been super busy this week, and I was on vacation for the last 2 weeks, which was really nice vacation, but it was cold, wet, and rainy, and mosquito-y. love those mosquitoes. Let me tell you, Colorado mosquitoes are horrible. If any of you live in Colorado, I'm sorry. They come out in the morning, they come out in the late morning, they come out in the afternoon, they come out in the late afternoon, evening, and night. They're out all day long. Michigan mosquitoes only come out at nighttime. At least they only bite at nighttime. Those little buggers were out all day. Yes, we know about Grimm, and we've done a few fairy tales. We might have to look and see which ones. Which one would you want us to look at off of like the Grimm fairy tales?
Fairy tales are always fun.
They're a little morbid too.
Well, I just mean that, like, because you think one thing and then it's not really. That's what makes them kind of fun.
They did, Daniel James. They munched on me. I was their snack. Wanted to be somebody else's snack, but the mosquitoes got me first.
Did not do Frog and the Princess. We have not done that.
I don't know if Grimm did Frog and the Princess. I mean, I like that Disney movie. Now, the fairy tale that I always thought was gruesome was Little Red Riding Hood.
Ooh, we should do that.
Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood. Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland is trippy too.
Yeah.
We'll look into one of those too. I'll see how much information I can get, or maybe we'll do both. Who knows?
I say we do both. Let's just do both.
We try to get as much.
Yep, we've done Hansel and Gretel.
Of course you would want to know that. Asking for a friend. Who's your friend? Daniel James?
Dude, those torture devices, like we went to one of those medieval times places for dinner or whatever, and they actually have an area that has those torture devices in them. And like people I know were like, I just want to get in there just to get pulled and stretched,
we could probably do torture devices and what serial killers did, because there's some gruesome, like some of our past subjects were gruesome of what they used.
Torture devices goes back all the way to Renaissance.
I was going to say medieval times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, torture devices. I'm kind of liking it.
He says asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend. You have a friend.
We actually did. We actually did Hansel and Gretel. We already talked about Hansel and Gretel. So if you want to see that episode, Linda, you can find us on YouTube. Just Google search Twisted Tales from the Graveyard, digging up history, and you'll find that episode. I want to say that was like in May or something. Yeah, we'll look into that one. I mean, we definitely look into modern, not just old time serial killers.
Oh yeah,
too. But all right, so we do have to sign off because it's 8 p.m. and I know the Goose Show is up next on RU Media. I think there's one other things. So
Twisted Tales from the Graveyard, Linda.
Twisted Tales. Yep.
All right.
So you guys have a great day, great evening, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. Bye.
Peace.